Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Forever Kayla. We are at the beautiful Barnesdale Art Park in Hollywood, California, and I decided to meet someone a little different here. Her name is Beti Asnake, and she is an Ethiopian anesthesiologist. I should say Ethiopian American anesthesiologist. I wanted to interview her just because she has such a cool story. I wanted to do something a little bit more philanthropic in my episodes, and I think this is something you guys will all find dear to your hearts, what she's doing. So let's go meet her. When I saw your pictures on Instagram, one thing, I don't remember if you reached out to me or I reached out to you.
I did.
Oh, okay. I don't remember how it was, but I followed you back immediately and I started looking at your pictures because I was inspired and I was thinking, oh my God, how beautiful. And then I saw that you were a Black anesthesiologist and you're a female.
Yeah.
And so I think the female thing sticks out more for me. What are the percents and the ratios in terms of how many women are there working in your industry?
Yeah. So the field of anesthesia in this country is pretty known. You know, there are not as many female of color. That's kind of rare to find. Even in general, like colored people are hard to find in medicine, let alone anesthesia. So whenever we find each other at conferences, we're exchanging emails and like phone numbers just for networking in general. When it comes to third world countries, and we call them now low to middle income countries, anesthesiologists are extremely rare, especially physician anesthesiologists. It's just not a field that's known, and for many years, anesthesia was given by nurses in the past, or assistant nurses, or what they call medical officers. And so now that this new emerging field of medical anesthesiologists is becoming more apparent in these countries, they're starting to kind of take over that field. But just to give you a perspective, in Ethiopia right now, there's less than 50 medical, like MD anesthesiologists for the entire country.
And what is the population in Ethiopia for there only be 50?
Yeah, so per 100,000, there's 0.01 anesthesiologists in Ethiopia, right? Yeah. Here, there's about 30 to 35 anesthesiologists per 100,000 people. So it's like, I don't know how many more times that is, but it's a very alarming number. There are areas in Ethiopia, I was in Tanzania as well, where it's rural areas where there's one anesthesia provider for 3 different cities, like a catch zone area, and it's just extremely hard for that one provider to be just taking care of that entire population. So as I travel, you just see a lot of medical professionals who are overwhelmed. They're tired, they're exhausted, they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right drugs, they don't have enough support, they don't have continued medical education. Like here, every so often we get classes, we get conferences to update us on anesthesia, like current practices. And they don't have that there. They go to school and then once they're done, they're done. And so they're just in need of just education, in need of equipment, in need of just support in general.
Now, why did you choose anesthesia? Because there's a lot of areas for being a medical doctor. Why that?
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a personal, it's a personal story. But I had a tumor when I was 16, and I had surgery. And I remember before surgery, the anesthesiologist coming and talking to my family saying, this requires a heavy anesthesiology run anesthetic, as in like what they do is very important on my survival. So my blood pressure had to be controlled very tightly during the procedure, and if it wasn't, I could be having a stroke. So at that point I was like, oh, who's the anesthesiologist? What do they do? So I started researching more about it, and then in grad school I majored in pharmacology and toxicology, so that was like drugs and physiology in general, and I loved it. And when I was in medical school, I did a few rotations and really liked it. Yeah. And what we do, so a lot of people don't know what anesthesiologists do. It's very complex.
You're putting me to sleep. I think that's what she does. She's the sleep doctor. When she comes in, she's gonna make you feel real good, and in 2 seconds, she's gonna count to 2, literally, and that's all I'm gonna hear. And I'm like, 1.
That is part of my job description. We definitely want the patients to be asleep, but that's not all we do. So what we do is, main thing with anesthesia is you want to take the patient from being awake, asleep, and then awake again after surgery. But you also want to make sure they're stable during surgery. So stable means the blood pressure, heart rate, the rhythm of their heart rate, their oxygenation, everything is controlled tightly during surgery. And simple procedures, is not as hard for us to do the anesthetic, but we do a lot of complex procedures where patients get big, like cancer surgeries, like abdominal surgeries or lung surgery, heart surgeries, where the anesthesiologist plays a vital role. So it's a lot of thinking on your feet. Anything can go wrong anytime. There can be a complication surgically anytime. So it can be very, very stressful very quickly, and it requires a lot of thinking on your feet. It's so cool. It's a really good field. I love it. I couldn't have chosen anything better.
Were you ever afraid though if nobody ever woke up? Like, what if you put them to sleep and you're like, oh shoot?
Everyone says that. It's really hard not to have someone wake up unless they're not waking up because of a secondary reason. For instance, if it's an extremely sick ICU patient who was already not really awake to begin with or not maintaining well, that patient could not be expected to go back and wake up at the end of surgery. We sometimes keep patients asleep after surgery because that's just the best option for them until their physiology is kind of recovering.
So that's more so like induced, what is that, induced a coma? Is that what people say, induced coma?
Yeah, we just call it sedated. We sedate them afterwards if they're still intubated, just to get them through the ICU course, depending what's going on. Very rarely patients don't wake up unless something catastrophic happened, like they had a stroke or they had like some hemorrhage or something happened during surgery.
Okay, girl, so tell me, like, what is one of your funniest memories growing up with your family?
I have several, but the one that comes up to my mind is from like a coming to America moment where we all migrated, to LA. And, we went to I think it was like McDonald's back then. And my dad and my mom were very, still stingy and not trying to spend any money. And so we went to get, we got a large size Coke. And my dad was like, this is enough for the entire family because we could refill it. So we kept on just going back and forth and refilling, everyone just watching us. Who are these people? We're just buying one cup of soda and just refilling it. That's just kind of the first thing that come up to my mom.
So now you can buy all the soda you want, I'm guessing.
We can, but we try to stay away from it now because, not the best thing. Yeah, it's not the best thing for you.
She said Coming to America. And I don't know if you guys remember Coming to America. Part 2 is coming out now.
Is it really?
They have a sequel coming out.
Remember, Simi, no one here can know I am royalty. You must appear to be no different than the average man.
I will not say a word.
But I think one thing that's funny is that I think it was called McDowell's. Is that what it was in Coming to America?
I think it was, yeah.
It was like McDowell's, and they came from anyways.
Yeah.
All right,
we totally did have that kind of moment where you just don't know anything here and how things are done here. But yeah.
Well, it's not goodbye. It's see you later. Thank you so much for spending some time with me while you're in LA, in between all your crazy surgeries and stuff. I feel honored that you even hit me and was like, hey, I'm in town. I gotta get this.
Thank you so much for this.